Hello and welcome to Crossy's Corner review of 2024. I'm so excited because we have an absolutely fantastic, stellar lineup for you. I'm Martin Cross, world rowing commentator, and I'm going to allow each of these wonderful people to tell you who they are.
Well, Crossy, it's good to be with you. I'm back. My name is Camilla Hadland Horrocks. I'm one of the world rowing commentators that has been with you all through the 2024 season.
I'm Gianina Van Gronigen. I'm a lightweight athlete. I competed in the lightweight double for the past 8 years, and I've been to Paris. And I got to hear from both of you commentated my race for so many races.
There's one thing you left out there, Gianina.
Which one? The
You won
silver medal
yeah,
from?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
Oh,
Um,
I forgot about that.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
Michael.
So yeah, I'm Michael Schmid. I'm now a commentator in Lucerne, mostly in German, and I was also a former lightweight thrower and competed in Rio, and yeah, competed mostly in the singles and doubles, and retired already 5 years ago.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long. Um, so, Michael, obviously, your news of the year was Lucerne winning the 2027 World Championships.
Yeah, yeah, that was actually really big news for us. I mean, I mean, most of my friends are somewhere involved in this campaign, and Mario Gear, very close friend of mine, he's the president of the Lucerne Regatta Association, and will be also the president of the World Rowing Championships. The former Olympic gold medalist, former lightweight thrower, and then Timon Vernas, he's the director, also very close friend of mine, and yeah, so it's really cool to have the world championship back, and it's the first time that it's actually a pre-Olympic year for us. So last time 2001 it was post-Olympic year, and yeah, I think now it's time is right to be back in Lucerne 2027.
Well, I'll ask you in a minute if that was your reflection on this year, but I kind of you thought we'd start off and say to each of you, what was your reflection on the 2024 season? What sort of things stick out? What's going to be left in your mind when you think of 2024?
So for me, 2024 was one of the best years in matter of rowing. It was actually, and I think I said this a few times. I think it was the first year where I really enjoyed rowing, just the sport of the like
Wow.
what this means. I just took out the pressure and all the stress that comes from the outside. But I think this also helped me. The thing that I retired for 1 year. I took the break for 1 year and came back. I think that helped me a lot to just enjoy the rowing and like not being stressed about the results because like at the Olympics in Paris, my family was there, so I could be quite overwhelmed by all the situation, what that means, and what if I fail. But I was on the other side of the line in which I was like very calm and very present, and I really enjoyed Paris. And of course, there was also the European Championships, which was the first time we won the like finally we won the gold medal. And because if you remember in 2017 and 2018, we won the World Championships, but 2 months prior at the Europeans, we came only on fourth, so we never had an European title, and we got it this year. And just being in the boat with Ionela for the last time because we knew it's going to be the last time as lightweight. It was just amazing, and also it helped me. Also, the sport of my family helped me a lot to just enjoy and be present in the moment and in the sport I loved for so many years. So that's I think what like 2024 means to me. There's not too much left of the year, but I think the future for me is very interesting because I retired. One reason is also because the lightweight career ends, so that's quite sad for me. But I also had this in mind before. So, but I think the future for me is very exciting, very scary as well, because now I need to figure out what I want to do. Um, but probably, I mean, I'm still gonna be close to rowing and like close to the rowing family and see what the future will bring to me.
That's lovely. Who wants to have another go?
Go on, Michael. You take.
Okay, okay. I mean, always Olympic years. Now as a spectator, that's great to watch. And I mean, for me, it really started at in Lucerne, of course, but not at the World Cup, at the qualification regatta, and that's always an insane regatta. And I think it's yeah the best regatta to watch and the worst one to race. And yeah, so many close finishes, so many emotions, and then I think yeah we were all ready for the Olympics, and the Olympics were just great. I was also there. I cycled to Paris with a friend, and then we had great days there in Paris and watching all the rowing, and yeah, so many cool stories. Um, yeah, uh, so that was really good rowing year. I think when we look a bit at the World Cup, Europeans, I think there we also had some we had great racing, but also some low lights. I think it was um, it was not good for our sport that some big nations uh, did not race all the World Cups or left out Europeans. That's yeah, that's not good for our sport.
Yeah.
And I think next year we also we see that there are only two World Cups. But beside of that, it was a great year for rowing, and finally an Olympic regatta with great conditions, and yeah, as we would wish, with many spectators, great atmosphere. Yeah.
Beautiful. Camilla.
I actually bumped into Michael just behind the Champs Elysees, just after he'd cycled to Paris,
Oh
like
God, what
completely
was?
randomly, not organised. We just bumped, didn't we, Michael? We just bumped
Yeah.
into each other in the street by like a brasserie in Paris. It was awesome.
Ended
Um,
up somewhere in the New Zealand house.
we ended up in the Team New Zealand house. We had a great night. It was awesome. Um, that was one of my highlights. Anyway, look. I think, but everything that both Michael and Janina have said ring true for me. I think, especially picking up on some of the bits that Janina was saying, just around. I think 2024 for me felt like quite an emotional year, I guess, in terms of like chapters finishing, chapters starting for many different things and different reasons, because there are a whole group of athletes that we saw in Tokyo that I think either didn't get the performances they wanted, that carried on to Paris for that big emotional moment of having lots of friends and family that could come and watch, which, again, didn't happen for them in Japan. And it really felt like that. It felt like a big sort of retirement party for a lot of people with all their loved ones around them. So I think that had been building for a really long time. The sort of parking of the lightweight divisions and the lightweight doubles, again another sort of big chapter close for a lot of people. And also chapters opening, I think, the beach sprints and the sort of coastal discipline being entered into LA and finally being accepted. I think there's new paths for people now, and the stuff that Gia was saying around like what to do next. I think there's a lot of people in that situation right now that are maybe looking to pivot after 2024 as to what is next for them. So yeah, I think for me, an Olympic year is always big, but I think this one more than most saw like lots of things settled, chapters closed, brand new doors open that we've never seen or heard before, in any format. So yeah, lots to look forward to, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I think 24. I mean, it might be seen as the last of the old Olympics. Lightweight rowing gone. I think we ought to say something about that at some stage. I think that's a loss. What the Los Angeles Olympics will look like: 1,500 meters, maybe mixed eights, beach sprints, as you said. The program's going to be different. Um, I don't know how that's going to impact. Michael's already alluded to low entries. Some of the World Cups, or I think Europeans had 4/8 entries or something like that. And the Olympics was amazing. It delivered. Um, but I kind of left in 24 with the sense of is that enough for our sports? You know that we could put on an Olympics with so many close finishes. Um, you know, are we needing more? So there's an element of doubt, I think, as we close the 24 season for me. Um, Standout moment for this from this season, the moment, iconic moment of the 24 season for you.
For me, I think there are a few,
Oh,
and
okay, we'll allow that.
but yeah, but I'm just like, first of all, like first thing in my mind that came, it was the Lutheran, the last qualification. I wasn't there, luckily, but those races are the most insane races, and like the roller coaster of the emotions, like from tears to happiness. And some people are like fulfilling their dreams, some people's dreams are like ended. I think that's one of the most intense regatta I've like watched or like experienced, because in 2016 I also experienced that, but I was still like too young. I was 21,
Ah, right.
so no one expected for us to get the last ticket, but we got it. So this year I think Lutheran was most intense, but also in Paris, like we know there were some races like no one expected, or like less like too not too many people expecting for the Romanian men's double to win. Everybody was like putting their bets probably on the Dutch, or also like the Great Britain women quadruple sculls, right? Like that was also amazing. Like, or the women's double lightweight double, not the lightweight,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Go, go.
heavies, the heavies, like the Romanians, right? Like they had also a roller coaster this year. The Europeans, no one expected. I mean, no one. We knew from the inside, we knew their struggle, and we knew that this year was a bit hard for them. But also, it was something quite epic and sad for us to see, right? But it was still there, like the Norwegian, right? Norwegian double, they got the title. And I think these moments for me are like outstanding moments
Mm,
in 2024. But there are many more, of course.
yeah.
I think every event, each event has its own special epic moment. So I think all of them deserve to be like give their own special time and own talk.
You make a great presenter, Gianina. You've
Yeah.
covered every single base. That's great.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
for me, all of them, I can't just pick one because all of them
No, no,
are
no. Right.
quite
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I get that. Um, Go on. Someone else then.
Well, then I adhere to the rules and go only with one. And I mean, most iconic moment, men's pair. I think that
Ah.
was.
Oh, I
I
forgot
mean,
about that.
also for us Swiss. I mean, yeah, we had Roman and Andrin in there in this race and hoped for a medal. They got a medal, but that yeah, that race it was so close and always different shifting positions. Semi-final was a big surprise with the Romanians winning that, and then it was all open for the final. And yeah, the Sinkwich at the top. Also, not many people put their money on the Sinkwich. It was always talk about, yeah, maybe they did the wrong choice and they should have stayed in the double and so on. And yeah, they proved all wrong and won their third Olympic gold medal. And I think, yeah, 4 Olympic medals from a country like Croatia. So they are not having, like in big countries, big crews, always young people coming up and pulling them over the lake. They were alone, and yeah, great achievement.
Camilla.
I'm going to say one of the ones that Janina kind of said, but I'll expand on it and I'll choose one of them, which is the women's double at the Olympics. Seeing
Wow.
the Kiwis on top of the podium, I think was one of the moments for me, because it was so, the women's double in itself was quite like a mixed event on the lead up to the Olympics. And I think even without the Kiwis in the mix, people had sort of tipped everyone else between the Romanians, the Lithuanians, the Norwegians, like you name it. Like there were so many people that could have come out and done really well there. But it was just amazing that the first race that they had won together as a combination since they'd gotten back in a boat together was the final of the Olympic Games. And I just think that that's such a cool moment. And the two of them, you know, with their kids that have grown up together, with all their training being done, you know, alongside being a mother. I think that that was just such a, and the podium itself, right? In that 50% of the people that were stood on that podium were mums in that women's double event. I just think that that was a really iconic moment for the sport, that, you know, that was normalized. And yeah, I think the Kiwis did an incredible job making that so special.
One mum to be reflecting on motherhood at the top of the podium. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I still don't understand how the British, like, they were right in the medal fight. You know, they were up there. And so I saw them at the Europeans, and they were like slow rubbish, you know, in rubbish in this. I'm not sure they made the final, and it was like, okay, they qualified, but I think the Czechs beat them, and then in the Olympics, it was like, whoa. And I've interviewed Becky Wild, and I still don't understand how they did it. But anyway, my iconic moment is men's single sculls semi-final. Ollie Zeidler. It was after not making the final in Tokyo. I think that was a massive deal. The performance was incredible in terms of, I think he was the only guy that broke an Olympic record that
Mm.
day. He won by miles. He went Bosch on the same thing on the final, um, and it was, um, for me, just a gobsmacking performance, and signposted, I think, his way to win um, the gold. I think there was a lot of pressure on him in that race because of Tokyo. So that would be okay. So let's take a look. Underperformance of the year.
I'll jump in with this one because
Oh, go on.
I think there are two obvious candidates, and in terms of nation, I think there's two obvious candidates for this. I won't say the really obvious one. I'll leave that to someone else. But I think for me, it was apparent that the Canadian men's sweep team was a huge, huge disappointment this year and for the
Mm,
last Olympiad, which was, I think, glaringly obvious to us at the final Olympic qualification regatta in Lucerne. Um, and I'm sure they'll have been disappointed, right? It was almost um, just completely unprecedented and unheard of that we wouldn't see a Canadian men's crew competing at an Olympic Games in a sport that they've been so successful in, you know, in Olympiads gone past. But I think as a whole, for me, that was probably the obvious absence at the games. Complete, you know, not even being able to qualify for the games and make the
yeah.
games. I think there were underperformances in Paris by particular nations, but I think in terms of not even stretching to get to that point, the women, you know, came away with a stunning silver medal in the women's eight. The lightweight women's double did incredibly well, Jill and Jenny. But yeah, I think on the men's side, there was certainly. I was actually looking at the results from Tokyo, and they had, you know, a men's pair that was right up there, Conor McCabe, and
Mm,
you know those days seemed so recent. But yeah, that for me, I think overall was the glaringly missing performance.
mm.
So
Mike.
shall I name the
You can have the obvious one,
the
Michael.
obvious one? Australia. I mean, uh, Australia won bronze medal. Jessica Morrison, Annabelle McIntyre in the women's pair, and I mean, yeah, as many medals as Switzerland, and our two rowing programs couldn't be more different. Australia for me always, yeah, one of the biggest greatest rowing nations, and yeah, it was not going well for them, and yeah, also quite different than in Tokyo. Um, so I don't know what they changed, or I know that their coach came to Switzerland, but one of their coaches. But yeah, I think they will have to work quite a bit to get back. I think they were not far off, um, but still, it was a surprise.
Yeah. G?
I think for you as commentators, it's easier to say because you followed us for like all these years. For
Yeah,
me, it's
yeah,
a bit
yeah.
hard
Yeah.
because, for example, I mean, for me, I can't just say someone underperformed because I'm from the inside and I know like one
Yeah.
underperformance means so much more. There's so much more to that. Like for example, just one example, like the lightweight women's double scull from Italy, right? They won Tokyo. They
Mm.
got the gold medal, and now in Paris they didn't qualify. But I know that behind that, like so many injuries are in that boat. Like the girls have really big problems, like health problems, and they had to take breaks. So I can't just say there's like someone underperformed because for me, I mean, it's easier to say, oh, that boat didn't perform well, when I know there's so much more to that. So I can't. I mean, I don't think it's fair because I know because I also had regattas where I didn't perform well, but I didn't take that as an underperformance, right? It just happened. We know that, and this actually means that rowing is very competitive and also very unpredictable. So for me, it's hard to say.
I think that's a great answer, Gianina.
Thank you.
Uh,
We're
I
just all very
don't.
judgmental.
Yeah.
We
Yeah, but
don't,
you
we
are.
don't appreciate all your hard work,
This
Matthew.
is your job because you follow us through all the regattas and you know better. I can't just pick one because I know everything can change from a regatta to other.
yeah. So I think disappointing performance. I won't call it underperformance after what you've said. Was the French team one finalist in the home Olympics, which is kind of unusual, really. I know, like with the Japanese team, probably didn't have any finalists in Tokyo, but I guess that was more expected. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen the French men's double up in the final, going for a medal. You know, the men's four showed flashes of some sort of potential at the lower end of the final. The lightweight women's double, you know, they were clearly nearly there. They never quite recovered the form that they had in Tokyo. Um, the women's double did make the final in a very competitive field. Uh, but I think for me, in terms of performances that disappointed, the American women's eight, and I'll tell you why, because I think they'd shown pace through the season. My understanding is they had been at the top of the prognostic times, the predicted gold medal times, or close to the men's four. So they were kind of up there, and they weren't even in the mix. And they're like the Americans. It's like, you know, from silver medal last year. Also, Giannina, I don't understand how the Romanian eight won in the way they did. Could you help us with that?
Yeah, and I mean, our training schedule allow us to do. We could also double, like how much we train during a day allows us to like do two races a day. Uh, and what's also interesting is that they didn't train that much in the eight. I don't think they have like 10, no, let's not exaggerate, like 15 times they got in the eight. They did not, like less than 15 times they went in the eight. But probably because the technique is the same, the training schedule is the same, everybody trains in the same center all the time. This allow us to like just jump in a boat and do what we have to do. So I think this also helped them. but it was also risky because you know that if the women's four, they would have done the repechage, I think that
Yeah.
would be a bit different. So the strategy of Antonio would have been a bit different. But they never know that they're going. I mean, they did know that they're going to double, but like very close to the event. So we didn't know anything. Everything was just you just have to do your job. This is the schedule. You do this, but prepare. But the thing is that even in Romania, we're used to just swap the seats and like change the seats. Like even you train in a boat today, and the next day in the morning you just get ready for the same boat, but you just find out that you're going to be in a different boat, so you just have to adapt.
Ah.
So you never know. And that's also probably that's I mean it's very stressful sometimes for us because you never know when it's going to be your seat next, but also it prepares you for this kind of Russian roulette or
Yeah, that's
yeah,
really well put.
yeah.
What's the situation, as much as you know now, with Antonio?
So for now, Antonio is not. I mean, as much as I said, I don't know actually officially, but I talked with him a week ago, and he's not training the Romanian team at the moment. There's still some negotiations for the contract, but also we had the elections here, the presidential elections, and everybody just took a break of everything, all this paperwork, and but I don't think Romania is gonna just leave Antonio, just let Antonio leave us. But for now, there's no contract. I also read that there are some offers for Antonio from other countries, but I'm not. There's not a certain thing I
Mm,
can say about it.
that's interesting.
But
So
the athletes are they are training now. They're still training, and they're still following the schedule that the other coaches
yeah.
are
So
like,
and
so
and out of interest, who's carrying on? And you've said that you're um, going to call it a day in terms of international rowing.
yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about who's training and who's decided that's enough?
So I think it's easier for me to say who's done with it because there are like
Yeah.
less people. So it's me and Yonela. It's a lightweight double. It's Madalina Beres from. I mean, she was in the women's pair, women's four, women's eight, but not in Paris. Um, and from the men's squad is the Marius Kozmiuk, Yonela's husband.
Oh
So
yeah.
he retired as well, and they're expecting a baby.
Oh wow.
Oh,
What's interesting is that so Yonela, she's pregnant. She's 4 months pregnant. So she got pregnant right after Paris, but she didn't know. It was just surprise. I mean, they were hoping to, but it wasn't actually 100% planned. And that's it. I think that the rest of them they're all like oh, and Ioana Vrânceanu, the bow from the women's
Oh
pair,
yeah.
she
Yeah.
also she also retired. But that's it. The rest
Oh
are
wow.
continuing, and like the young people are coming to take our
Yeah.
places.
So lightweight rowing. So you guys. I mean, it struck me when you said you both retired. I know some lightweights. I have heard that um, Paul O'Donovan and Fintan are going to try and go heavyweight and do a quadruple scull with the Irish open weight double. Um, but let's say something about lightweight rowing. What the sport's going to miss, the pleasure and enjoyment we've had from it. Yeah, and your feelings around that. I know both of you, Mike and Gianina, are two lightweights. Do you want to start, Camilla? Just because.
Sure, because I've definitely never been a lightweight and never will be. So my opinion is very, very broad. No, look, it will be missed. I think that some of the best races in recollection is much like when the lightweight men's four was put to bed, right? I think there's a lot of races that spring to mind of being some sensational performances. And similarly with the lightweight doubles, I think this year the lightweight men's double was one of the most exciting categories that we had. Coming into every event, not knowing who to expect would be on form. And just some good characters, I think, as well. And then the incredible performance from the British on the lightweight women's side was fantastic to watch. But I think off the back of that, that actually also then, I think, proves the argument, I suppose, for the sort of closure of the lightweight chapter is speaking to a lot of the doubles and the teams that competed. You know, I was with both Emily Craig and Imogen Grant just this weekend, and us talking about the fact that for most of the programs, their lightweight doubles were as fast, if not faster, than their open weight doubles. So they almost was too fast for their own good. They sort of, you know, put themselves to bed in being too fast. So I think it's sort of put itself out there on paper as being dispensable for that reason. But it will be missed because I think that cap on one factor, on one element, just makes everyone get that little bit more creative and yeah, create some fireworks. So yeah, I'll definitely miss it.
One of you guys, Michael or Gianina?
You first.
Yeah. As I think Camilla put it very well, even now or like before, it's sad for us lightweight that it's over, but also it's a very good opportunity for the coastal, right? This is also very interesting. I mean, even if it hurts me because lightweight ends, it's still going to be very interesting to watch the coastal and the beach sprints. Um, yeah, I think it ended as it should be, even if it's sad. But I think lightweight rowing, it had, because we are so fast, as Camila said, right? Like we also, if not every time, most of the times we are also faster than the heavies. So probably,
Wow.
probably, yeah, that wasn't good for our chance of continue lightweight. I just think, I mean, for me, I was also planning to retire even if lightweight would still
Mm.
continue. But I think it's sad for a lot of athletes that they have to switch to heavies or to retire because I think lightweight rowing, it's a bit more than rowing because you really need to do some. I mean, it's a different sport, and we know, and every lightweight knows that. I
Mm.
mean, Michael, you can agree or disagree with me. It's something else. Like being every time at every regatta at the weight gain control and seeing everyone, or like being in the tent with the heavies and they eat and you can't, or like they drink as much water as they want and you can't, you just look, but you switched your brain to just like not doing that, so you don't actually need it, but it's very frustrating sometimes. So there are a lot of stories of the strugglement of flights. And I also, like, I remember in Rio, it was beginning of my lightweight career, so I didn't know actually what that means, but I saw a girl, I think it was Canadian, and she had a sip of water, but she didn't swallow it. And then she jumped on the scale
Oh
just to
my
see if
God.
she can swallow it. Or like there are so many stories behind, and like what's behind you see at the start line for a lightweight. Which I mean, all this makes me sad because I know that, I mean, I have all my respect for the lightweights, for every and each of one of them, because I know the struggle, and I know it's more than rowing. That's what I think. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Sensational. Michael.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just follow up with Janina, and now for me as nowadays as a sports psychologist and sports scientist, I have to say, well, if I hear those stories, and I do remember how it was going always on the scale, and it was all about the scale and the sweating and weight control and everything, then I have to say, well, it's not that bad that we don't have lightweights anymore, because we know from all the sports, it's yeah, it's problematic to have such weight categories and weight control, and yeah, that can lead to severe consequences. But now, if I put down that hat as a lightweight rower, I will miss those races, watching those races, and as a Swiss especially. I mean, yeah, 1996, the Olympics. in Atlanta with the Gear brothers on the top. First time lightweights at the Olympic. That was a big thing for us, and they were a big inspiration for a whole generation of lightweight rowers in Switzerland. And we saw so many great performances, and it also allowed maybe other nations to shine. I mean, we saw an gold medal from South Africa in
Good shout.
London. We saw the first medals for Greece in the lightweight double. We saw some good performances in the final of Japan, and I think we'll miss that. I do hope that in coastal rowing, such nations will also be able to shine, and I'm really curious what all the lightweights are gonna do now. If they will switch, of course, the best rowers now, the Donovans, the Imogen Grants, and those, they can change. That's not a problem. They invested now 10 years. They were funded for 10 years. They could develop and close the gap to the heavyweights. But if you start as a young, smaller rower at the age of 18, 19, the selectors, they will say, well, nah, I don't know. I don't think you have the thing for a career in rowing, and then they will not fund you for 10 years in order to bring you to the top. So I think, we will not see as many smaller rowers anymore on the stage in flatwater rowing.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I can't really add to anything that you guys have said. I would emulate what, Michael mentioned about other countries. I was talking to Christina Bompu the other day, the Greek sweep rower who was in the pair in Tokyo and Paris. And I think she is pretty much if I understood her, she's the only open weight woman in the Greek system. I think at the moment, and obviously that you kind of had Kontu and Fitsu win the lightweight bronze medal, and then you had was it Papa Constantino and Katsakis won the same medal. But I kind of wonder, because our sport is we are too European and North American and Southern Hemisphere, Australia, New Zealand focused. I don't know how many we had. One Asian finalist, maybe with China. I'm not sure if that's correct in the Olympics. I don't think we had any from South America in the Olympics. None from Africa, and I'm not sure how that's going to get better. I don't think that's healthy for our sport, and I do think not seeing lightweights makes it, in the short term at least, less likely we're going to see a wide variety of nations. I think it will be tough, for example, for Greek rowers to get into the podium at least in terms of competition. And yeah, I didn't think I would be. I am sad to see it go. So before the Olympic Games, Michael, Camilla, and myself had predictions for who was going to win events, and Michael actually won. Pains me to say, but interesting to look at them and say, well, why were you wrong? So men's single, both Michael and I, both Michael and I had Ollie Zeidler. Camilla, you were. Do you remember who you went for?
Did I go for Van Dorp in the end?
Yeah, you went for Van Dorp.
Yeah, I did.
Anything you want to say in your defence?
Look, maybe it was my dismissal of Ollie that actually spurred him on to win the gold. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep saying that I just stoked the fire from underneath him, Crossy. That's clearly
Yeah.
what my aim was. I am intrigued though, because I think I only missed out to Michael by 1 point. So I'm intrigued to know where the swing was. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was the single. But
Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Lightweight men's double.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So, men's pair. Camilla and I went for Britain, and Michael, you went for Switzerland, which was kind of over romantic, really.
Yeah, well, they were not far behind the
Yeah,
British boat, and also not far behind Croatia.
yeah,
Um, I mean, yeah, just had to take them.
yeah.
Look, if the race had have been 1,970 meters long, Crossy and I would have been laughing. I'd have been drawn on points with you, Michael. But
So, do you ever in the Romanian team, talk about who you think's going to win events? Because you
Of
were in.
course,
Yeah, okay.
of course.
Did you have any favourites for the Olympics that you thought might win, or
Well, I mean, for each race, we expected some people. We had some surprises from other people, like even the lightweight doubles called in my event the Greek double. They were
yeah,
impressive, but all the year they were impressive, and at the Europeans as well. They were. That was a very good combination, and it's sad because they're so young, and now lightweight it's over, so it's a bit sad for them. But I think for each event I had, like, I don't know my favorites, but like the crews that I knew or like I was expected to win.
mm,
Um, like the men's double, I was
I was about
expected
to
like
ask you, did you
You were,
guys
yeah,
know that?
expecting who?
that was I. Pardon.
Who did you pick in the men's double?
So of course I wanted and like cheered for the Romanian, right?
Yeah.
Like in each event, Romania was I was cheering for them. It didn't matter if I knew that they're gonna win or no, or like I'm expecting to. So I was just crying and couldn't believe it, and I was just hoping like they could handle it, like they could hold it until the finish line, because sometimes they just do it because I know them from the training. They do it, and then at the end, like as you said, the finish, like last 200, you can't hold it anymore. And I was just like shouting at the phone because we were on our bus to the venue, just like to hold it, and they did, and it was amazing. It was insane. Everybody, even the driver, was like shouting.
That's
So that
amazing.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. I was also feel I mean I also felt sad about the Dutch crew because I know the boys, and they're like such an like good athletes and like good
yeah,
people,
yeah, yeah,
both of them.
yeah,
So I was sad for them because I also know that Steph would retired, so that was his last chance to get the gold, the Olympic gold. But of course, I cheered for the Romanian. I knew that the women's eight, the Romanian one, they have a big chance to win, like a high chance to win. I knew the men's eight. I think, I mean, I didn't know, but everyone expected for the Great Britain to win, so as they did. Also the men's pair, yeah, I think I was hoping for Romania to get on the podium. I mean, they could have done it. I think they had all the chances. I don't know what happened, but I think I would bet on the Great Britain men's pair. That was my bet. But we talk with the athletes like every time, me and Yonela, because we were sharing the room. We were like, okay, who do you think is gonna win? And we always, or like most, I mean, probably not all the time, but mostly all the time, we have different opinions. But yeah, it was nice to watch, and I think every event had their surprises and also their like. I was expecting that Oli Zeidler to win, or like I don't know, yeah, expecting. I think I put it that way because he had an outstanding performance this year.
Gianina, do you cheer for the Dutch crews as well when you can get away with it?
When there's no Romanians in it, yeah.
great
Of
question.
course, of course, yeah. And my family, the Dutch family, my husband, they also cheer for the Romanians. But yeah, I mean, I also cheer for the people, not just for the countries. So when I know a person and I know they're like good athletes and they deserve to win, I just cheer for the person, not for the country.
Lovely. There were a few odd choices, most of them for me on those picks. We all thought Netherlands were going to win the men's double. Um, Michael, you thought New Zealand would win the men's four, but you were close because they were silver medal. So that was a reasonable pick, I think. In the men's quad, I picked Italy for sentimental reasons, and you guys went for the obvious ones, the Netherlands. The men's A, I picked the USA. I don't know what I was doing with that. I think I'd been, I, I think you know,
Yossi has just been feeding you the Kool-Aid, Martin.
yeah. Lightweight men's double. Well, basically, Camilla, you went for Switzerland.
I did. It was one of the few times I actually listened to Michael and went for Switzerland. I don't think even Michael went for Switzerland, did
No,
you?
he didn't. He went for Ireland because he knew he talked to Paul O'Donovan, and so he had inside information. Women's single, we all went for Caroline Florine. Women's pair, you guys picked the Netherlands, which was obvious. I went for Australia, and I don't know quite. Yeah, they weren't as good as I thought in that regatta. Women's double, everyone picked Romania.
They were close.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were very close. What a
um,
race. That's got to be one of the, like, just as like an actual pure race.
Yeah.
It was a very exciting one to watch.
yeah.
Um,
Women's four, Michael picked the winners, the Netherlands, and both Camilla and I went for the British.
I picked the Netherlands as well.
Oh,
Oh.
you say that now.
Now I recall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Women's quad, Britain, me and Camilla and Michael picked the Netherlands. I mean, it was so close. I think, we should probably all get equal points. Women's A, I picked the USA for some unaccountable reason. Both of you guys picked Romania. And women's lightweight double, for some reason, you two picked Great Britain and I picked Romania.
you just had full
You
faith
won.
in G.
They were close. They were close though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Do you guys want to say anything about any other rowing events this year, like either World Cups or Europeans or the boat race or Henley or any other events that you've raced in at this time?
Well, I mean, I always say that, but the one guy who was doing all the events was almost all the events was Ollie Seidler, and
Yeah.
I think that's just great for the sport. He was racing the World Cups, the Europeans, Henley, Olympics, and yeah, he's always present. He even came to Switzerland as he's now living in Switzerland actually, in Lausanne. He's studying there for 1 year, doing MBA, and training on the Lake Geneva,
Oh,
Lac
wow.
Le Mans. Very very bumpy water, always bumpy water. And I interviewed him at the Basel Head in November, and then he said, yeah, those rumors that he cannot row on bumpy water, those rumors he will bring definitely to bed after that year on the Lake
Yeah, yeah,
Geneva.
yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, really great to see him on all the great regattas. And yeah, Henley was great to watch as always. The delivery of Henley is awesome. One of, yeah, the best one. And yeah, so
I'm glad you said that, Michael, despite the fact that it rained for 6 days straight from
yeah, I mean,
the moment
watching
it
the
started
races.
to the moment it finished, and you were like, the best event. It's always so good and it's well run. I was
I
like,
was
Michael had
not
a beautiful
there. I
time
was
in the
not there,
rain.
but many people from Lucerne were there, and they came back and they were just happy being there, and said that was the best thing we ever did with our club. And yeah, so good, really really good to see, to have such events in the calendar.
What about you, Camilla?
I actually, the one I missed, which I really wanted to go to but couldn't, was Szeged, because I heard so many good things about it. Lots of
Oh,
people reported
yeah.
back saying how nice the facilities were in Szeged, how nice the lake was, what a great time they'd had. So I think that was my miss of the year, probably. I know, but it sounded like all the reports were very good. And I think we need more of that, is probably my takeaway. We need more new venues like Szeged to pop up for us to revisit. And I know we've got, again, in future, a few that have been bidding. But, going back to the likes of like a Seville, for instance, who had also bid for the world champs. Bled had featured last year. But we'd just love to see some new venues, which unfortunately I think, we were going to come on to it. Next year's not really going to provide us with, given that we've got Lucerne and Varese again. Lovely places, can run an event really well, which I think is the main thing, right? That you get the racing, you get good quality racing from both of those venues. But yeah, would love to see a little bit more experimentation.
Why is Romania never bid for a major championships?
Great question, Crossy.
Yeah, there's just one answer, and is that we don't have an Olympic course yet. Can you imagine?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so they're building one now next to Bucharest, next to the capital, but we don't have it. So we have one lake, which is Snagov. It's like 10K long. So there's enough length for training, but we don't have a 6 or 8 lane course venue. There's not such thing in Romania. So when we train, we do on 4. So we have only 4 lanes. You can't do more than 4 lanes because the space doesn't allow it to. But now they're planning to. They already started to build, and we had the Balkanic Championship this
League.
year. Yeah. For juniors, so it's still in process, but there's not an Olympic venue here. So yeah, that's why we also, when we go to Italy for such a long period of time, well, also because of the weather, but we don't have an actual venue, 8 lanes to train properly like any other countries.
Yeah. So next year, or on the World Rowing proposals at the Extraordinary Congress, is this idea to put mixed eights on the program. So what do you think of it? I just wondered, so are they going to do like mixed eights at the end of the program? So anyone that's done any other crews can race the mixed eights. Are the mixed eights going to involve anyone that's in the men's and women's eights? Will that impact them? Is it extra to that, or how will it work? What are your thoughts?
One thing I can tell you is that Romanians can do it. Probably.
They're going to win every single year.
We're already
that
used
does not
to
surprise
that.
me in the slightest. But
No.
Romanians,
especially because now we have to switch to 1.K, right, to 1500s from next.
Yeah.
So we do 3 pieces of like the 1500s in one training, one session. So we're used to that. So speaking about doubling the mixing 8, I think that's quite interesting because it needs a different strategy, right? You need to balance the forces, to balance the power, and I think that's a bit of a different strategy you have to think about. But I think it's also very interesting to watch, because then I think it's going to catch the eye of the public. So I would follow that. But I hope that's not going to be the end of other events, like for lightweights, when they put the coastal and the beach sprints, they stop the lightweight events. So I think they're just going to add the mixing 8, not to cut someone.
Yeah.
That.
What do you guys reckon, Mike and Camilla?
I mean, I think for me, I think the interesting thing is it should be athletes that are already entered into a race on the program elsewhere. I think that's what makes it appealing and exciting, is the prospect of people winning multiple medals at games. I think, you look at other Olympic sports where you've got superstars like the Michael Phelpses or the Katie Ledeckis of this world that can win multiple gold medals or multiple Olympic medals in a games. Like, I think the mixed eights presents that opportunity in rowing if you construct it as such that it has to be people that exist already as part of other races in the program. So I think with the right sort of framework in place, it could work really well. But I just don't know. My worry about it is that we just have all the big programs that could facilitate a mixed eight, maybe with the exception of like a Romania, for instance. I worry that we've got a lot of big programs that are hesitant to change in any way, shape, or form, in that they know what they like what they like training, you know. For the British, hats off, it worked for them for this games, but like there's no such thing as switching in and out of boats. Like, you're in your single or you're in a crew boat. You know, you're in your single for trials or you're in the crew that you will race in for the Olympic Games for every single stroke. You know, you might have a sub on board, but there's no kind of switcheroo. You know, tomorrow we'll be in this and the next day we'll be in this. And I feel like the mixed eights kind of needs that. To accommodate, it needs people to be open to that during training, during racing.
Yeah, this is my first question on Riverside. Actually, thank you to Matthew, who's watching, who's asked us: do you think some crews would hold back a bit in some events to target a medal in others? Before you say what you think about mixed eights, does anyone want to take that?
I guess in the sense that if people were I say forced to double up into the mixed eight, but it was a requirement that people would just enter a crew that they knew was going to finish at the back of the field or paddle over in order to prioritize the mixed eight. I guess I don't think so, because I think innately everyone wants to do as well as they can all the time, and people double up in normal racing by choice and don't well, I mean, Gianina, you can speak to the Romanian program, right? I don't think any of them are entering the women's four on a whim and just sort of paddling over the course to allow the women's eight to get a gold. So I think that happens in practice anyway now, without anyone forfeiting a performance to prioritize another. But I could be wrong and people could disagree with me. I don't know.
Thank you, Matthew. Michael, what's your view on mixed eights? Is there going to be a Swiss entry in that category?
I think the good thing would be that the category would be open to much more nations. It's much easier to find 4 men, 4 women, and to do that. I expected a bit more that they maybe would change the format of the 8, of the normal 8, to say that only people can race the 8 who are also racing other boat classes. Without the mixing. I think that would be really interesting, because then you would have much more spaces for other crews, for more nations at the Olympics. You would have seen probably a Swiss 8 in Paris. We had 10 men.
You had a lot of athletes there, didn't you?
10 athletes, 10 male athletes, and 6 female athletes. So that would be really interesting. Otherwise, we have to see. I never actually. I saw once mixed 8 racing in Henley, 2019. There was some kind of
King's Cup.
King's Cup, yeah.
King's Cup. Lars Wichert was in the German. Germany.
Yeah.
I kind of think that for me, having the event completely after, like saying the Olympics or World Championships, so at the end of the program, like in the canoe kayak cross event where the kayaks just dropped off the ramp. It was very successful. A lot of people watched it, and people thought it was quite exciting. The purists didn't like it, but it was really after both slalom events had finished, so everybody entered it, but unless that happens, like at a World Cup, if you say, well, our sport has mixed eights, but basically at a World Cup, how are they going to do a mixed eight? Does that mean, if they're going to make a mixed eight out of men's and women's eights, do they have to put the eights and the quads at the beginning of the program and then say, right, you need to race at the end? Um, I think the logistics of that are quite challenging, really. I'd like to see it. I think I would like to see it, but I still have a question mark over it. Um, so, what's anyone looking forward to next year? Presumably, we get lots of different answers considering the stage of life that people on this call are at.
Oh, is anyone going to go?
I said it at the beginning. Like for me, it's hard to say exactly because now I'm actually experiencing. As I told you before, like I started acting classes because I already filmed for a short movie and I got a really nice feedback from the directors. And I was thinking, okay, why not? Because this also helps me with public speaking. And so now I'm doing this. But for me, it's not certain which path I'm gonna follow. I still train. I still like keep training every day because who knows? Maybe I'm also gonna have take the decision to try again. But for me, I don't actually know exactly what I'm gonna do.
Okay, that's cool. What do you want to say, Camilla?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm like, I'm gonna miss a lot of events next year due to the timing of a rather big life event. So my June and May are kind of written off, unfortunately. So that's when all of the events seem to be happening between the World Cups, the Europeans, and so on and so forth. But my hope is that I will be back with the rowing reality closer to the World Championships in Shanghai, which have been in the works for so long that I cannot wait to actually see them happen. It feels like we've been talking about the Shanghai Worlds for, well, we really have for years and years and years. I keep hearing about this drone show that they're going to produce. It's meant to be amazing. So I can't wait for the drone show in Shanghai and the very recently announced beach sprints going to Rio de Janeiro next year. I think that will be awesome. So we're looking forward to that too.
Yeah, you're going to be there with a little one in tow, I'm sure, Camilla.
We'll see. Would
Yes,
love to be.
yes.
Maybe on
Mike,
the beach in Rio.
yeah, I
That's
bet you are. Yeah. Michael.
Um, yeah, now only I talk only about the rowing part, and I think next year is a bit as for all of the rowing world transition year. Also for us at the World Cup in Lucerne. Um, this year we had two events. The yeah, especially Timon was really much also into the bidding campaign and Mario. So next year, bit of relief. We have less work to do and try to prepare for 2027. And I think what will be really interesting how all the nations develop. I think after Tokyo, many systems stayed a bit the same, and now I heard a lot of rumors that head coaches are changing and this guy is going to that place and all over bird. Maybe at the end we can also talk about some of those rumors, but yeah, that will be interesting. And and then yeah, how beach sprint, coastal rowing will develop. I think quite many athletes, or yeah, there will be quite many athletes who change to coast rowing. We already saw the Lobniks, and yeah, that will be interesting how that develops.
Yeah, I kind of think that's really interesting. I kind of think for me, as you said, Camilla, Shanghai stands out. I'm gutted there are only two World Cups, but I don't see how world rowing can continue to run three World Cups. Like, that season they did Zagreb, that was such a good World Cup infrastructure, but the entries were so poor. It was really only thanks to nations like the Swiss who came in force that it was, they were able to run a proper regatta. So I think with the Europeans when they are, I think they're in the wrong place of the season. I think that messes up World Cup one. Don't know the answer to that. But probably, I would imagine World Rowing's most iconic event will be the beach sprints in Rio. I mean, as good as Shanghai is, I can't see anything. I mean, as I'm saying that, I can almost feel the sand under my toes.
Flamenco Beach in Rio de Janeiro, Martin. Can you
That's like
imagine? Oh,
insane. I think I would pay to try and compete in that.
we could still convince both Gianina and Michael out of retirement yet.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Rio de
I think
interesting.
Janeiro.
you convinced me already.
Yeah. I think Giannina is obviously the fittest person on this call. And then
Oh,
probably Michael, and then I think you might just nudge in. You still go swimming, Camilla?
Yeah, I do. I am still swimming.
Yeah,
So
okay. So you more than me.
I'm in for the swimming too. Don't think for rowing.
So that's been brilliant. I think we've been on for an hour now. It is like I don't know 3 o'clock in the morning in Romania or some ridiculous time.
No, it's 11 p.m.
11 p.m. So it's great that we've. I think thanks to
We're
everybody
not
who's
that
been
far.
so patient, so we can all organise the different time zones. Um, but it's been wonderful, Michael. You have been a star as ever, and look forward to hearing you in Lucerne.
Yeah, we still have to do the rumors.
Oh, the rumours! What rumour have you
what
heard?
streaming so
Yeah,
desperate
I
to
heard
tell us,
that.
Michael?
I was
Please tell us.
surprised that Janina was not talking about it, but I heard the rumor that Antonio is going to Italy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then new president of the rowing federation in Italy, not Giuseppe Abagnale anymore. Robert Senz going to Germany.
Yeah, I
Gianni Postiglione maybe as well.
yeah, that's like a big rumor. That's something that you heard, and then it was like that's not going to happen, and then you think maybe it is going to happen. Um, yeah, I've heard that one.
The Aussies are on a big recruitment drive as well, from what
Yeah,
I understand.
who are they trying to get hold of, Camilla?
Well, they've already got James Harris from the
Mm,
British team, I understand. I think he's already
yes.
gone, is going.
Is
He's
he going to be the main man for with the women, or is he going to be like under another Supremo?
I don't know. I've not asked enough questions yet, I must admit. I just know
Yeah,
that I think he's gone or going already. So, yeah.
Canadian rowing. Who's going to take that on? You mentioned it, didn't you? Men's sweep. You know, I think Mike Spracklin's too old for them to bring back even now. Yeah, before we finish, Gianina, unsung Romanian coaches, because Antonio gets all the praise. Can we think?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. So, Antonio, when we talk of coaches of Romanian,
Yeah.
we only mention Antonio, but I know there's a lot of hard-working Romanian former rowers and things who do coaches. Maybe you could mention one or two of them.
Of course, so Antonio is actually the head coach, but each boat has a different coach. Or for example, us and the heavy double, we have the same coach. So it's Cipriana Tomei. But we have Alupe Dorin, I think you'll know him.
Yeah.
We have Despina Marcus. So there are 12 coaches in total for each boat, and they split like the men's crew and the women's crew. We have Bogusz Kosmin, we have Măstăcan Vasile, but she quit. I mean, he quit. So he actually was training us until Tokyo. He was
Hmm.
the one that like helped us win both gold medals at the World Championships, and he deserved to be said, his name to be said here. Um, there are a lot, like also we have a lot of therapists, like the physic
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they deserve, or the doctor, because without a good doctor you can't do anything. Because I had a lot of injuries, like the knee surgery, rib fracture, and everybody had to do their job to be there, but there are so many, and you know that there are so many people behind us. But yeah, everybody, both speaking about the coaches, because this is what I asked. We have a different coach for each type of boat. Also, it was interesting because in the women's eight, so they were the women's double, women's pair, and women's four. They doubled in eight. But each boat they had a different coach in the
Ah,
smaller boats and one coach in the big boat. So they have to speak the same language. That's actually, and Antonio is this is his job to just like make them realize that they need to speak the same language, because we know that like there's not a person alike, and this happens for the coaches as well. So Antonio, it's his job to make sure that the coaches speak the same language and they do the same things. That also allowed us to just for the women's eight to just double and do the amazing job they did.
Gianina, you've been wonderful this evening. Just an amazing insight into, not just Romanian sport, but sports psychology and in general. So that's been fantastic. And Camilla, finally from you.
Well, I think it's been a great year. And this has been really fun. I always enjoy these. I think it's just great to chat about rowing with people that love rowing and sort of are passionate about everything that I love as well. And just this full debrief that I feel that you don't really get to do at any of the events themselves because they're so busy and people are hopping on flights or, they're racing themselves like athletes. So it's just nice to be able to do this kind of wrap up and look back on the year. So no, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll end the live part of this interview now. We might just have a very brief chat, but thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great Christmas and Happy New Year. Okay.